Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I am filming this actually before Christmas, so you're all going to be seeing this on Christmas Day or thereafter. I'm probably like sitting on that couch watching Love Actually right now with like a mountain of Ferrero Rochers next to me. But I'm filming this before so I can have a little bit of time over the holidays. And I thought let's just keep something really casual and let's just do a fun little Q&A. So I asked my Instagram to submit a bunch of questions and I'm going to answer them right here in this video. I've also included timestamps down below so you can zip around the video and take a look at the questions that you're most interested in, or sit back and grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee depending on the time of day. I don't judge either way, and just enjoy this little fun, hang. Okay, first question. What do you define your design style as? I would say that my style, it's kind of funny because I go through and make a lot of videos about like specific design styles, but then myself I'm like, it's kind of a blend of a bunch of different ones. I would say I definitely lean towards modern. I tend not to be very traditional, although I do like some traditional elements brought in. Like I do love panel molding back there. That is something you see a lot in traditional design. I do like different moldings and things like that. So I would say I do like a touch of traditional, but I would definitely say I lean more towards modern. I'm pretty color agnostic. I like neutral palettes. I like beautiful, colorful spaces. I like funky wallpapers, big, bold tiles. I like it all. Definitely, I have a fondness for natural materials, as you all probably well know with my recommendations. So natural materials, modern design, I would sum it up like that. Okay, next up, we have a place you always wanted to visit. I'm going to say Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I was going to go before the pandemic hit. Once this is all cleared up, then I will be making my way over to Japan. Are we living in the dark ages of interior design? Was minimalism too idealistic? First of all, that's two questions, and I don't abide cheaters, but your questions were good, so I'll give it to you. But I don't really like when people cheat. I actually almost broke up with someone because they cheated in Risk, so that's how I feel about cheaters. But anyway, two questions. What are they again? Oh, right. Are we living in the dark ages of interior design? No, I would say we are not. I would say that what is happening right now, which maybe you could consider the dark ages, is just with the age of social media, there is so much copying of design and less personality that people sort of bring into their own space because they tend to just copy what they see online. But having said that, I also don't think that copying is necessarily a really bad thing, because I think it's actually really a great part of the learning process, right? If you've ever seen there's a book called Steal Like an Artist, which is basically about how when you learn something, it helps to copy what you see experts do. And then once you sort of learn what other people do, you can start to kind of make it your own a little bit. It happens all the time here on YouTube. I would say earlier videos of mine sort of resembled what other people's videos may have looked like in style, but now I've created something I think that's a little bit more uniquely my own. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to copy, but I would say you do see that a lot, and I can understand how that may be seen as the dark days of interior design. And then, is minimalism too idealistic? Yes, it is for most people. I'm going to actually do a video next week about extreme minimalism. I do think you can have a philosophy of minimalism in your space without necessarily going to an extreme. But I would say extreme minimalism looks beautiful in photos, not realistic for most people. Worst design trend of all time, in your opinion? I should probably hit on design trends I've made fun of. I would say probably the big poofy leather recliners I think are particularly egregious. But you know what actually I'm gonna say is barn doors, not because necessarily they're the worst thing, but I think the problem is that people build spaces, or builders or designers will build spaces where only a barn door will work. You don't have a room for any other door style. You almost like have to put a barn door, and that's frustrating because with a leather recliner, okay, it may not be the most attractive thing in the world, but you can just swap that out if you change your mind. But the problem is that they're building spaces now where you have to put in a barn door, and that's frustrating. How old are you? I just turned 39. How do you dress for Canadian winters? I don't, because I live in Vancouver. A lot of people think as soon as you go over the border, it snows for 11 months out of the year. It does not. That is a mistake. Canada is generally a cold country, that is true. But here in Vancouver, we basically get the same weather as Seattle, which means like it rains a lot of the year, beautiful summers. You have beaches, you can go and sit on a beach. But yes, even in Canada, we have beaches. You can go and you can sit in the summertime and you can go sit at the beach. It's gorgeous. So I don't really dress for Canadian winters because I don't have to. It's generally like rarely snows here. It snows for maybe like a couple of days out of the year, then it turns to rain and it all gets washed away. So I don't really have to. Where did you get that fabulous clock in your living room? I love it. Okay, so this is the most common question I've ever had, ever. It is from CB2, but it is from 2 or 3 years back, and I don't believe they sell it anymore. They don't even sell something even remotely similar, but it is from CB2. Please remember that, and if you see other people comment on any of my videos ever, just pass on that information, because I literally get that question over Instagram DM or in my comments. I must literally get that honestly like once every week or two. Like people just seem to really love that clock. Some people hate it, that's fine, I don't care. But just pass it on, okay? Because I get that question all the time. What is one design trend you hope sticks around? You know, wabi-sabi is sort of something like just seeing beauty and imperfection, seeing things that don't have to just be perfect. I really love this trend towards like beautiful pottery and different ceramics and really sort of investing in gorgeous materials, and especially handcrafted pieces. I think those are becoming more and more popular and people are looking for that, and I hope that sticks around for a while. Thoughts on wainscoting? Love it. Yeah, great. Love wainscoting, crown molding, big baseboards. I'm a big fan of tall baseboards. I've never talked about it in a video. I'm going to, I'm sure at some point. Love a tall baseboard. I don't like wimpy small baseboards. I love just any sort of wall treatment. I think, you know, panel molding, applied molding, they're sometimes called, like whatever. I always think they look really, really cool. Shiplap, of course, is a bit overdone because of course it's just the farmhouse staple. But even that I don't think is the most offensive part of farmhouse, to be quite honest. I think shiplap is even kind of cool. When are you coming to Iceland? I have been to Iceland. It is one of the most beautiful, amazing countries ever. And it also, and this is weird, but it has the best tasting water I have ever had in my life. I know water doesn't have a taste. Yes, it does. The best water in the world is in Iceland. You heard it here. Any tips for setting up wall moldings? In terms of like DIYing it yourself, it's actually not that difficult, and I say this as a person who hates DIY and is useless when it comes to actually that type of stuff in my own home. It's basically like you just buy the different moldings, you can get them at Home Depot, whatever. You just have a little like a mitered corner at the bottom to sort of create sort of a smooth edging, and then you just nail it onto the wall, and usually some glue as well, some sort of adhesive, and then you just paint it out. So that's generally how it works. I've simplified it obviously, but I had a professional do mine, I had my contractor do mine, but it is DIY-able, but I would say, yeah, it's not that difficult. In terms of style, I would just say choose something that is in line with the rest of your style. So although it is something that you see a lot in traditional design, the one that I chose is actually very squared off, and those sort of clean lines I think really work with the rest of my space. So I would say choose a molding that fits the rest of your design style. If I had something a little bit more traditional, I might go with more sort of French curves or something like that, but mine is just very squared off and very modern. Can you tell us about Sophie? Age, breed, personality, anything? Can she be in videos? Okay, so generally the reason she's not in videos is she kind of barks a lot when she hears things in the hallway, and it's just kind of distracting. So she sits in the office with Mike. She is a lab cross terrier. I know you're thinking like, no, she's not a lab. You know, you're full of crap, Nick. That dog is not a lab, that is a terrier. Yes, I actually know people that have other dogs from this litter. I think she's actually a little bit too smart, to be honest. It would be a lot easier if she was a bit dumber, because sometimes I think she's sort of playing us a little bit too much. She's fun. She's living her best life. She is a rescue. She was found in the US, I think in like somewhere around San Francisco or something, and they brought her up to Canada. That happens a lot. Adopt, don't shop for a dog, and have your pet spayed or neutered, because help control the pet population, like Bob Barker always said. How to know which white colors to select for your home. I have a video for that, how to select white paints. For me, it's all about the undertones, understanding, like taking white and then comparing the different whites along with it. You can start to see the undertones, and you can sort of play with how you want that to work in the rest of your space. So work that in with the rest of your color palette. So there's a video on that, check it out. Can we have a tour of your apartment? This is also another one that I get a lot of, and to be fair to you all, I've probably promised it a bunch of times and never delivered. So I have some reasons for why I've never done it. Originally, it was because I thought nobody cared, because my channel was really small, and then I had a flood where I lived in a place for about 4 months, and there was still some work being done even after I moved back in, so that's why I didn't do it. And then I started to feel really overwhelmed that everybody was putting a lot of pressure on wanting to see my place, and I was like, what if they don't like it? What if it doesn't meet their expectations? And then I just kind of didn't do it for a while because I got lazy. So maybe I'll do it in the spring? I don't know. I kind of just feel, someone actually did message me and said, you know what, Nick, do the house tour when you want want to do it. Like, you don't have to tell the rest of the world where you live. Like, you don't have to show everybody. And I kind of took that in and thought, you know what, like, I'll do it when I feel like it makes sense, and I'll probably do it in the spring. I also have a really large patio that I could show off, which doesn't really show off well in the winter, so that's why I'll probably wait until spring, because it shows off a lot better then. So theoretically coming, but I'm not making any promises because I've done that before and not delivered on them. So we're just gonna say one day. How far along are you on the new house? Yes, the new house. Okay, so we've had some delays with the city. Well, yeah, the city basically, because we had to apply for what's called a variance. So we had to be able to move the front of the house forward. For some reason on the original lot plan, it was too far back from the sidewalk. Long story, won't bore you with it. That had to go to city council, back and forth with different committees, blah, blah, blah. Finally, it's approved. But then, because in the Okanagan where we are building, the ground freezes in the wintertime. So you can't really pour your foundation in kind of November, December, January. So we are looking at March is when we're gonna be pouring the foundation. So you're definitely gonna see a lot more content of me shopping for different things and hopefully getting into more site visits and stuff as we get further along into the construction. Look for that probably spring, summer, fall, and even into the next year, of course. That will probably be when you're gonna see a lot more content for the new house. So starting in March and probably beginning of 2023 is when the house is actually gonna be done. What do you think of rug runners in kitchens? I mentioned this in my Unpractical video. I think go for something, there's a lot of food, right? It's the kitchen. So like be aware that don't put in something I think like really cool and vintagey. Make sure it's easily washable and that you can care for it, because you know, you can do it. I don't think you have to do it, but if you want to do it, you can. I would just stick to something that's actually practical for the kitchen where there's gonna be a lot of spills and stuff. Favorite DIY house decor. So I don't like DIY. I'm very public about that on this channel. I am useless with that stuff, and I generally just don't really just like it. I have my reasons. Anyway, I would say some of the best DIY is things to do with concrete. Like, I do love when people create like pots and stuff out of concrete. I think it looks really cool, and it's something that seems fairly easy. I don't do it because I'm useless, but other people do it, and I always think that's really interesting. So definitely anything in the cement concrete world I think is cool. How to pick a round or rectangular dining table. Do you mean round or rectangular? So I would say my biggest thing there is about flow. I actually do prefer rectangle dining tables. I think they're easier to buy tablecloths and runners and all sorts of things for, and I do quite like them. You can fit more people. It's a more efficient use of space, but round is good for two reasons. Number one, people can face each other when they're sitting at the table, which I do think is nice. And then the second is flow. So we have a round dining table there, and the reason is because that space is quite small and hard to sort of get around. A round table, by being a curve, is easier to sort of maneuver people in and out and get around the space. So considering it's so tight, that's why we went with a round dining table. So those would be my two reasons why you would choose round, but I do like rectangle a lot. Do you like to cook? Yes, I love to cook. We cook all the time. I generally do really love to cook. Probably if I didn't have an interior design channel, I might have a cooking channel, to be honest. I do like it that much. What is your favorite decor piece in your own home? So it's really, really cool. I have what is it called? It's basically, do you know those bus wraps that they used to have before they had like on buses, you know, the front where it would tell you like the next street and like the streets where it was going or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm not really explaining it well. Anyway, we had those in Vancouver's on like the trolleys and the buses and stuff back in like the 50s. And my grandpa rescued some that were basically when they were being replaced for, I mean, I guess electronic ones, I guess. I don't know the full story. Anyway, he kept them in a basement for 50 years. And when he passed away, they found all this stuff, and they found all this like old antique stuff. And one of them was all these old rolls from like the 50s of these sort of bus wraps or whatever that have all these old Vancouver street names. And my dad got a roll, and then he stuck it in the basement for 10 years because, you know, he's a hoarder too. So then I found that, and I was like, can I have a piece? And I did, and I cut it out and I framed it, and now it sits in my bedroom, and I love it because it's a little bit vintagey, it's kind of cool, and it really works for the color scheme of the bedroom, and it reminds me of my grandpa, and yeah, so that's my personal favorite. As a Canadian, do you see a big difference in British versus Canadian/US interior design? As a Brit, I do. Yes, I would say so. It's very interesting about culture and design. I think that's really I don't know how I would do a video on it, because I don't know how I would frame it for you guys to actually click and watch that. But I do think that in the States, especially in the US, there's a very much a Southern style, and they very much still love the Joanna Gaines farmhouse style. That is still very, very popular there. It's much less extent the further you go into Canada, or even in the West Coast, or even probably in the New England area. I would guess it's probably not as popular, but the Joanna Gaines look is still very, very popular. So I could see how, if you're not from North America, you could look and say all of North America has that Joanna Gaines style. It's not true. Everybody, you know, it is a big continent. There's lots of different regional differences. So because that style is so popular, I think in certain parts of the United States, you see that come through in stores like Target, Pottery Barn, Home Goods or Home Sense. You see a lot of the sort of style that is popular sort of permeates other retailers around the whole continent. So that is still very much popular. So I would say even, I mean, you sort of lumped Canada and the US in together, which I can understand why, but even then there's going to be a difference, I think, between Canadian and American. A lot of people, because of my accent, can't tell the difference between a Canadian and American accent, which is fine. And so people lump me in and assume that I'm American, which is totally okay. But there is a little bit of a difference even where you go. It's a big continent. There's a lot of regional differences, I would say. I think what you're getting at is, yes, there is definitely a farmhousey element that is popular in certain pockets of the United States, or it sort of permeates lots of different parts of our design and different retailers that are very kind of North American. What is an interior design or home goods store like West Elm you'd never shop at? So I notoriously hate Home Sense. I'm actually thinking about doing a Buy This Not That Home Sense, just so I can basically make fun of stuff from Home Sense because I don't like it so much. I would say that, yeah, I just don't like their stuff. Again, kind of see previous question. I find everything sort of falls in like a cheesy glam or a farmhouse look, and I just don't love either of those. It's quite well documented here on YouTube that I don't like those styles, and I find them to be quite popular at Home Sense. So that would be my store. And of course, you know, by the way, it's my mom's favorite store. Of course it is. Have you lost friends over boldly opposing MFH, which is Modern Farmhouse? Cause same. No, and I would say that my friends and family put up with a lot. Like, could you imagine, like, I go to people's houses and people literally go like, it doesn't always look like this. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Will I silently judge your plate? It's all being logged. Of course it is, but I'm not a jerk. I'm not gonna go in and say like, that's hideous. I'm gonna go in and say your place is beautiful, because then I'm just gonna talk about you behind your back on the internet. But I don't name names except for my mom and my sister, because that's funny to throw them under the bus. But yeah, I would say my friends are very great, and family are good sports about the whole thing, considering what I do for a living, and they're good sports. Is open concept going away anytime soon? I don't think so. I have said in the past, I think the open concept is dead thing is a bit overplayed. I think it's just in line with how most people are just living nowadays. I will say though, things like offices are coming back and people needing sort of some space to do work, because the hybrid business model, I think, is something we're gonna see a lot more of over the next decade. People are gonna be spending a lot more time working from the office and at home, and so people are gonna need more space at home. I talked about that in a previous video, but I think that's gonna be more common. But open concept itself, living room, kitchen being open, I don't think we're gonna all of a sudden have kitchens as closed off as they were, you know, 50 years ago. How did you experience living in Europe? You ever considered moving back? Hi from the Netherlands. Probably not. So I was actually born in Wales. So we moved here when I was very, very young. So I do have a British passport, and I don't know, like pre-post Brexit, like I don't know how it's playing out over there. Anyway, I was able to move to the Netherlands without without like a work visa or anything like that. So I had never been to the country. I just picked up with Mike and we both moved to the Netherlands. It was amazing. I think moving to a different country, especially one where, you know, English is not the first language, although the Dutch, their English is amazing. You know, you just learn new ways of doing things, and I think that that is very healthy. I think we all need to be reminded of different ways are not worse, they're not better, they're just different, and that's okay, and that's part of the fun. And so, you know, you really do grow when you're uncomfortable, and it was extremely uncomfortable for the first while to move there, but a lot of fun too. I think that kind of chapter is closed for me. I think, you know, you never know where I could go next, but I would say I really, really love Vancouver. I didn't leave Vancouver because I hated it. I left Vancouver because I wanted something different, and now that I experienced different, I moved back because I love it. So I do love Canada, I do love living here, and I don't think I'm going to move anytime soon. What is your guilty pleasure when it comes to design decor? What do you love that nobody else does? You know what's one thing that everybody says is over and people are just like, oh, I hate these things and they're never coming back? It's like Edison bulbs, like a funky light bulb. I am alone on this, but I love a funky light bulb. I think everything's going the way of like LED. I love a LED light strip. You know, I'm a big fan of recessed lighting. I think it's great to add sort of some intrigue and sort of interest in your lighting plan. But I think Edison bulbs and funky light bulbs, I think are actually really cool. And I hope they come back. And maybe I'm the only one. Let me know. What's the best part of your current job? My current job being YouTube. The best part, honestly, is the autonomy that I have in my job. Like what I talk about next week or in a week, 2 weeks from now, what sponsors I work with, what brands I say no to, and like I say no to like 99% of what comes my way. Having that autonomy in my job is massive, that I can do and say whatever I want here on YouTube. And so long as you keep watching, I can keep doing this. And that's honestly, I'm old enough to know that it's an incredible privilege to be able to do that. I've lived in the corporate world for many, 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 many years. I know what it's like to have to answer to your manager and be told kind of like what to do, what not to do, and where the company's going, and you have to sort of toe the line. I know all about that. And I take that it is a massive privilege that I have the autonomy to do and say pretty much whatever I want, when I want, and I take complete responsibility for that, and I do it week after week, and that is an incredible privilege that I have to have that job autonomy. That's the best part. Most underrated design style. I'm gonna say Art Deco. I feel like Art Deco is underappreciated, and I put it in my 2022 design styles, and I sort of I'm willing it into existence because I'm hoping everybody else is gonna catch on that Art Deco is fabulous. How do you set boundaries between owning a business, personal life, social media, etc.? It's actually really easy. So before this, I had a juice company where it was like I was responsible for like all the team and their development, and like if a machine breaks or a delivery had to be made, like I had to, you know, get in the car and do a delivery. The buck stops at me. I knew that I was on all the time to make sure that business worked. I had several stores. It was incredibly challenging. This is easy. My videos are just out there doing their own thing. People are watching them, commenting, liking them, disliking them. I don't care. They're doing all their stuff, and I'm just living my life. So I think that the trick is for me is just compartmentalizing when I'm on, and then when I know to just like put away the phone. And I'm good at that actually. I just put away the phone and just go, you know, you guys comment and figure it out. Well, talk about me on YouTube. I don't need to be there. And you know, so I set clear boundaries of like, this is the time when I'm engaging with my community, responding to comments, usually right after I upload. And then this is the time where I just park it and walk away. When looking back at rooms you did in the past, are there any cringe reactions? Yeah, I used to, especially as a long-term renter, I rented for, oh God, 15 years, right? I had like the blank wall syndrome where you've kind of got the big blank wall and you don't know what to do with it, and you're afraid to paint, you're afraid to really do anything with it. And so I would just put a piece of generic art and just stick it on the wall. That was something I used to do that's a bit cringy. Has your life changed as your online career grew? Not sure if that's the right way to call it. I like how you quoted online career. Like, is it really? Fair enough. No, not, well, yes. I mean, yes and no. Like, yes, in the sense that I get to do this for a living, and that's amazing. And so my job is a big part of my life. So that's obviously huge, and that has changed a lot. But no, in the sense that, you know, if you think I go to like YouTuber, you know, fancy parties, or I get like such and such a brand is like, you know, you hear all these stories about influencers flown to the Caribbean or something or whatever. Like, no, that's not happening. Maybe it will. That'd be cool. I want to go to the Caribbean again. But no, my life is get up, walk my dog, make my videos, do my thing, hang out with my friends, go to happy hour, see my family, go to movies, regular life. How do you stay grounded and mentally healthy as an influencer? An influencer? I guess I am. How do you stay grounded? Well, my friends and family keep, like, they would, if I ever got an inflated ego for 5 seconds, they would all put me right back down to earth. You know what I think it is? I think also, as I mentioned earlier, 39. So it's not like I was like 16 and became like sort of an instant TikTok success story, which I think, although there's a lot of grounded 16-year-olds for sure, that would be really difficult. But as a 39-year-old, I know how much of a privilege it is to be able to do this job, and it's a dream come true in a lot of ways. So in terms of being grounded, I know the value of how hard it is. People work for their money. So if I recommend something, I take that seriously. And I know how much of a privilege it is to be able to do this job. So I never really take it for granted. So I would say that keeps me grounded. In terms of mentally healthy, kind of what I mentioned earlier about putting out boundaries, I only respond to comments when a video goes live. Generally a video goes live, I go in, I respond to the comments, and then I walk away from the computer and I put down the phone. What did you want to be growing up as a kid? I wanted to be a psychologist. And then I realized that I like talking more than listening. Important to know what you're good at. that. But I thought in my head, a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist, I thought that would be a way that I could really give advice. Again, I saw the talking part. So maybe YouTuber makes sense. I mean, I didn't know it wasn't a job when I was a kid, but you know, it actually makes sense when you think about it. Were you surprised how successful your channel has been? From Michelle from the UK. Hi, Michelle. Yes and no. I was surprised at how quickly it happened. So I always wanted to grow on YouTube. Like I was quite strategic in how I made sure every video I was like, how can I give the maximum value to people in the least amount of time so that they keep coming back to my channel, because I wanted it to grow. But it grew very quickly. My goal originally was 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I hit that actually in January. So that was like a secret goal. Like it was so ambitious, I didn't think there was a chance I was gonna hit it, and I hit it in like the first month of January, and I was hoping I would hit it by the end of December. Like that was kind of crazy how fast that grew. So there's a good couple of months where it grew very quickly, and that caught me off guard for sure. Do you get recognized? If so, how do you react? Yes, I do. Sometimes I get recognized, probably about once every week or two, and I love it. I don't know why. Some of these YouTubers are like, oh, people stalk me on the street. No one's stalking me. No, no one's ever been creepy. Everyone's always just usually really shy, and they just are very nervous, and they're just like, by the way, I just really love your channel, and I love it. I think it's great. And sometimes it can feel like you're talking to a camera lens and there's no person on the other end. And so when I get to meet people in real life, in public, it's so much fun. I do get some people that DM me later and say, hey, I saw you out with your friends. I didn't want to say hello, but just want to let you know I love your channel. And I always respond the same way, which is if you see me in public, say hello. Like I want to meet you. I think that's fun. If you see me at IKEA, please stop me. So much fun. I always have a good time. We always have a little chat, and yeah, so say hello. I think it's great. You should do a Canadian episode, focus on Canadian designers, designs, and artisans. So, okay, I get this a lot from other Canadians. Hi, Canada, love you. Here's the challenge, is that only about 10% of my audience is from Canada, about 50% is from the US, and the other half is, well, 40% is from everywhere else in the world. So the problem is that Canadian retailers, it's really tricky for me to be able to talk about Canadian stuff because the majority of you don't really care. That's just the truth. But what I do is I'm sneaky. I sneak in, especially like small Canadian designers sort of here and there. And I try to do that. If you've been following a lot of my videos, you'll know that frequently I'll mention like a local person. Like I just find that really fun. So I'd like to sort of sneak in some locals or some Canadian content in there, but to do a whole video on it is tricky because it's just not relevant to most of the audience. Would you do subscriber room reviews? Something fun and informal? Yes, I would. That's something I've got planned for January, February-ish. Still working on the content calendar, but follow me on Instagram because that's probably where I'm going to ask for people to submit stuff, because Instagram's better at more one-on-one connection than YouTube. It's a little bit trickier to kind of get that stuff from the comment section or whatever. So I do that more on Instagram. So follow me there, and I will probably do it in the next month or so. When working on your home project, did you face the blank page syndrome? I think that's like writer's block basically, where I don't know what to do. No, the opposite. I have too many ideas and only one house. So yeah, I kind of, depends on the day you catch me, I want to do something, and then I'm like, okay, no, I'm gonna go in a completely different direction. So no, I have too many things I wanna do. I'm not searching for ideas. I have too many. It's the editing down to one idea that I'm struggling with. Best career decision you've made or regretted? Best career decision was starting this channel. Worst was not doing it sooner. I waited way too long to do this. I probably should have done this years ago. What was it like running your own company or juice company? Did you like it? Yes, I did. I did like the autonomy that I had, that I was able to sort of, it was a great creative expression. I feel like people don't talk about that when they're starting a business, but a lot of it is very creative because you're able to create something in the world that's bigger than yourself. And I think that's really exciting and interesting and so much fun. I will say the nature of that business was I had about like 30 or 40 part-time staff. That felt like I had a lot of responsibility. I needed to have a lot of answers, which I didn't know what I was doing sometimes, which is totally natural and normal. And then sometimes I just felt like I was really responsible for people's career development and growth. And that was a real challenge because I kind of sometimes want to be selfish and do my own thing. And that's kind of what's great about YouTube, is I'm just able to not have other people's problems weighing on my shoulder and feeling that responsibility of having a whole big team. I kind of like that. I just have a couple of editors and a couple of managers that help me with sort of the brand stuff. They're all like part-time, and they do their own thing, and they're pretty self-reliant. So I don't have to, manage people and have all the answers all the time, or deal with everybody's problems, which is what you do when you're a manager. That's the truth. Who do you follow on YouTube? I follow a lot of cooking channels, to be honest. I love cooking channels. I love like Marion, I'm just trying to think. Bon Appetit, Binging with Babish, of course, but there's a lot of smaller ones as well. Claire Saffet, sorry, Carla Lolly Music, I love. I follow a lot of like Novimpia, which is like a drag channel, which if you guys don't follow, they do parodies of some amazing YouTubers. My dream is to be parodied one day. I'm not sure it's a drag parody if it's a man doing me, but whatever, it would just be so, like that would just be the dream, wouldn't it? But I'm not there yet. But Novimpia is amazing. I just love all these different sort of, that's the fun part about YouTube, right? Is that people, there's no gatekeepers preventing weird, cool content going online. Like the reality is that if there was a gatekeeper stopping me, like a Netflix or an HGTV, I would not, you would never have heard of me. That's just the truth. But here on YouTube, you're able to like get in front of people and just, if you got a camera and an internet connection, you're good to go. And I love that. Tell us more about your career path from first job to current. Okay, so this video is getting long, so I'm just gonna kind of run through. So I actually went to business school way back when, and that was great, specialized in marketing, but I ended up working in HR. I worked in HR for a number of years. That's when I moved to Amsterdam and I worked for a company called Booking.com. You may have heard of them, online hotel stuff. And that was interesting and exciting. I actually moved back to Vancouver. That's when I started my juice company. That's really where I fell in love with design. Building a store, managing that whole project, working through that whole thing was just very exciting. I actually fell in love with restaurant design before residential design, actually, and then I started renovating my own place and I fell in love with that too. And that's kind of where the channel really came from. What is your dream career-wise? I would love to do products, and I like to do like, if I could do a collaboration with like a brand that I love, you know, I won't name names because I don't want to, you know, feel like it's set that expectation. But the brands that I love and talk about on this channel, I would love to have like a collection or something, especially for the new home. I think that would be really neat, where I can curate something and work with their teams to create something really beautiful that I think you guys would all love. I would love to do that. I'm not going to do merch. Like I don't want to do merch. You don't want a Nick Lewis t-shirt. Like that's the reality. But maybe you'd like you know, a lamp that I create or a whole collection that I bring together with a fabulous company, I think would be amazing. I'd also maybe like to do some courses or something like here on YouTube. I won't get into the whole like ins and outs of YouTube, but sometimes there's a lot of the education content I do is a challenge to do on YouTube, and the fun, silly stuff tends to do better, which I get and I love to do as well. Like that's great, but I like to do maybe a little bit more education stuff. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. That might be a 2022 project. Do you get along with other design YouTubers? Okay, we are not the beauty community. There's no drama. Yes, I would say Arvin and Kiva are who I probably talk to the most, Arvin especially, but I do love all the design YouTubers. We're all friends, we all connect. The thing is about YouTube is that it's not very, you're not really competitors, because like you can watch my video and then go watch Lisa Holt and watch Arvin. Like it's not like a whole big thing to have to really feel like, you know, we're competing. We're not. And I just love that you all can, and me, because I get to watch it too, that we all get to see all these different content creators doing their thing, and they all offer something unique that they bring to the table. So there's no drama. I love Lisa because she's, you know, she's just got so much energy. I don't know what she puts in her coffee, but I want some. I love Arvin for his like wild cackle, which I just always enjoy. I love Kiva because she can take like something random from the Dollar Tree and make it look amazing. And like Julie Koo and like Garrett just have so much knowledge that we can all learn so much from. So Lone Fox, like Sorry Girls, Krista McGowan, like they're just all so good. Valentina, I could just go on. Like all these people are so awesome on YouTube. There's no drama. I love them all. And I love that it's like the Spice Girls. You can kind of like pick your favorite. Like everybody's got their favorite ones. And I love that. I think that's great. You might like me or not like me, and that's okay. But there's like other people on YouTube that sort of are better for other people. And I think that's really cool. So no drama. Love them all. They're all great. Would you provide individual consultation at a cost? No. I think the challenge with that is that I'd be trading sort of my time for money. And I just think like I'm better off spending my time with the audience that I have, working on products or things that are going to meet your needs, but are maybe can help more people at a time. The problem with individual one-on-one, although I'm flattered, the problem there is that it's just a real challenge to just work with one person one-on-one. I'd rather spend my time helping a lot of people for the same amount of time. Okay, and then last question, was there something specific that inspired you for interior design? I would say, yeah, it was creating that first juice bar, that first experience. I just loved creating creating it. It was building a brand out of interior design, and you realize just how powerful design can be. It really is creating an experience and a brand, and that's something I fell in love with. So I would say working with the House of Bond, if you don't know Karen Bond, actually has a channel here on YouTube. Working with Karen on that project back in 2013 was absolutely amazing and super inspiring. Fun fact, actually, although she has a YouTube channel, I was on one of her original videos that she did when she launched her channel years ago, way before I was on YouTube, but I think she unlisted that video. So, I mean, no hard feelings, because that video, I was probably completely awkward and did not have good camera presence. But yeah, I was actually on her channel years ago. So maybe Karen, don't throw that video up actually. But anyway, there's just a fun fact for you. But I would say that experience of designing that first store and building that company and shaping that sort of design and that brand was something that I originally fell in love with, and really just sort of kickstarted my love of design that has never really ended and continues here on YouTube. Okay, so that's it for me for today, you guys. I hope you really enjoyed that Q&A. That was a lot of really good questions. I've timestamped everything down below for you. And again, I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. You will see me again in the new year. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.